I have to admit, I've been staring at this stack of notes you sent over, and I keep thinking about Mark Twain. There's this line attributed to him, and frankly, even if he didn't say it, he absolutely should have, about the difference between the right word and the almost right word.
The lightning versus the lightning bug. Yes, a classic.
That's the one. And, usually when I hear quotes about vocabulary, I kind of gloss over them. I think, okay, sure, poets care about that. But looking at the 31 words we have on the docket today, I'm realizing this isn't about poetry at all.
No, not in the slightest.
It's about not getting sued. It's about not accidentally insulting your boss. It's about the difference between sounding like you know what you're doing and sounding like you're just guessing.
It is absolutely functional. That Twain quote is charming, but you're right, it almost minimizes the stakes. In my field, and really in law, in medicine, or high-level business, the almost right word is a liability. It's a landmine.
A landmine.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
I mean, if you use a word like condone when what you really meant was forgive, you haven't just made little stylistic error. You might have just admitted to legal complicity in a crime. The consequences are real.
And that's the terrified feeling I want to channel today. We aren't doing a spelling bee. This is a deep dive into what we're calling distinction. We're looking at 31 words that act as scalpels. They slice through the noise because they mean something incredibly specific.
Yes, precision instruments.
And if you use them correctly, you upgrade the resolution of your entire communication style. That's really what it's about, isn't it?
It is. Think of it as moving from, say, standard definition to 4K. The world is blurry when you use these generic catch-all words like bad or good, stop, think, but the moment you swap those out.
For what? Like reprehensible or beneficial?
Exactly. Or halt, or ponder, you suddenly start seeing the details, the nuances that were completely invisible before. You control the narrative instead of just, participating in it.
So, to give everyone a sense of where we're going, we have a roadmap. We've broken these 31 words down into 5 clusters, so we aren't just reading a dictionary out loud.
Right. It's about context.
We're going to cover the search for truth, then power and law, then a really interesting one, creation and deceit. After that, obstacles and consequences, and we'll finish with human interaction.
It's a logical progression, I think. We start with how we perceive and understand the world, then we move to how we control it or judge it, and finally we end with how we actually live in it with each other.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get into the first cluster, the search for truth. These are the words we use when we're trying to figure out what on earth is going on. And the very first one is a word that I, for one, usually associate with World War II movies and spies. Decipher.
It does have that cinematic flair, doesn't it? The trench coat, the dimly lit room. But the distinction is crucial. The core definition is to succeed in understanding, interpreting, or identifying something that is difficult or obscure.
I think I'm guilty of misusing this one just to sound dramatic. I'll say I'm deciphering a long email from my boss, just because I haven't had my coffee yet. But that's not really it, is it?
Not unless the email is written in actual code,
Mm-hmm.
or is so intentionally vague that it might as well be. The source material makes a really interesting point here about the element of resistance.
Resistance.
Yes. The word reading assumes cooperation from the text. You read a billboard. The billboard wants to be read. Its purpose is clarity. But deciphering assumes the text or the data or the handwriting is fighting you. It's resisting understanding.
That changes the context entirely. If I tell a client I'm reading your proposal, I'm being passive. I'm receiving information.
Right.
But if I say I'm deciphering your proposal, I'm subtly telling them that their writing is, well, a mess.
Or, to be more generous, that their ideas are so complex they require a code breaker. It can be a double-edged sword. You see this with the classic cliche of doctor's handwriting.
Oh.
You don't read a prescription note. You decipher it. The information is there, but there is a barrier of illegibility, a puzzle you have to solve before you can get to the meaning.
So it implies a struggle. You have to bring your own cognitive tools to the table, your own effort, just to get to the baseline meaning. It's not handed to you.
Precisely. Archaeologists are another great example from the research. They don't just read ancient tablets when they're pulled from the ground. They spend years deciphering the symbols. There's a puzzle-solving element that is completely absent from standard reading.
So when you use this word, you're flagging to your listener that you had to work hard to get the answer. It wasn't easy.
Yes, it signals effort and complexity.
Okay, which brings us to a word that is also all about working hard, but in a much more aggressive way, scrutinize.
Now, this is a word with teeth. To scrutinize is to examine or inspect closely and thoroughly. But the trap people fall into is thinking it just means looking really, really hard.
Right, like I scrutinize the beautiful sunset that just sounds weird, it doesn't fit.
It sounds weird because scrutiny implies suspicion. It's not a neutral observation. You scrutinize something because you are actively hunting for a flaw. You are looking for a mistake, a contradiction, or a hidden detail that doesn't add up. There's an agenda to it.
So it's safe to say nobody really wants to be scrutinized.
Generally, no. Think about a tax audit. The IRS doesn't just look at your receipts, they scrutinize them. They are operating from the premise that there might be an error or worse, a fraud, and they are gigging and digging until they either confirm or deny that suspicion.
So it's an investigation, not an observation. But is it always negative? The notes you send over mention scientists?
That's the exception that, in a way, proves the rule. Scientists scrutinize their own data. And why? They're hunting for errors before they publish so that no one else can find them later. It's a rigorous, almost hostile process of self-correction. They're trying to break their own theory.
It's a form of quality control then.
The ultimate form. So if I'm reading a contract, I'm just reading it. But if I have a feeling the other party is trying to, screw me over.
Then you are scrutinizing every single clause.
Yes. You're not just reading the words, you're looking for the loophole. You're hunting for the ambiguity they might exploit later. That is the core distinction. Looking absorbs information. Scrutinizing interrogates it.
I love that, interrogating the information. Okay, let's say we've done the scrutiny and we've found the truth. Now we need to explain it to someone else. We have two words here that feel very similar, but they land quite differently. Elucidate and illuminate. Let's start with elucidate.
Elucidate is the professor in this group of words. It means to make something clear, specifically by explaining it in detail, but it's very formal. You wouldn't, for example, say to a friend, "Can you elucidate how to tie my shoes?"
Unless you were being incredibly sarcastic, yeah.
Exactly. Elucidate is reserved for complex, dense, or murky concepts. It implies that the thing being explained is a tangled knot of logic that needs to be carefully and methodically untangled for the listener.
So if a board member rejects my budget proposal and just gives a one-line reason and I don't understand why, I might ask them to elucidate their reasoning.
That is a perfect use case. It's polite, but it's also very demanding. It says, "Your logic is currently opaque to me. Please lay out the steps of your thinking so I can follow them." You are asking for the intellectual mechanism of the decision to be exposed.
It's asking for the how and the why in a very formal way.
Yes, the chain of logic.
Whereas illuminate feels, I don't know, brighter, less mechanical.
It is more visual. To illuminate literally means to light something up, like with a lamp, but figuratively it means to clarify something by bringing it into the light, often suddenly.
The distinction I'm seeing here is maybe process versus effect. Elucidate sounds like the step-by-step explanation, the process. Illuminate sounds like the aha moment, the effect.
That's a very, very good way to frame it. Elucidate is the lecture. Illuminate is the moment of understanding. If you have a mystery, let's say a missing file at work, and suddenly you find an email that explains exactly where it went, that single email illuminates the entire situation.
So it's not a slow explanation, it's a sudden reveal.
It casts light on the whole dark room all at once. It's more holistic.
It's poetic, too. When you say, the new evidence illuminated the killer's motive, it sounds like you're turning on a flashlight in a dark cellar. It creates a powerful visual.
It does. It engages the visual part of the brain. Elucidate engages the logical, sequential part of the brain. One is a map, the other is a flash of lightning.
Okay, last one in this search for truth section. We've deciphered the code, we've scrutinized the data, we've illuminated the answer. Now we need to sit with it for a minute. We need to ponder.
This is a word I feel we are losing in our age of instant reaction. To ponder is to think about something carefully and at length, especially before making a decision or reaching a conclusion.
But let's be realistic. Isn't pondering just a fancy way of saying I'm procrastinating? If I tell my boss I'm pondering a problem, she's going to think I'm napping at my desk.
She might, and that's the risk, unless you frame it correctly. Pondering implies you are actively weighing conflicting variables. If you're just stalling, that's hesitation. If you're overthinking, that's rumination. Pondering is active mental processing, but it is slow processing by design.
Oh, so?
The Latin root pondus means weight. When you ponder, you are literally weighing the options in your mind, feeling their gravity.
So you can't really ponder what to have for lunch.
You could, but it would imply a level of philosophical gravity that a turkey sandwich probably doesn't deserve. You ponder a career change. You ponder a marriage proposal. You ponder the meaning of a vague text message from someone you care about. You ponder ethical dilemmas.
It buys you time, doesn't it? If someone makes me an offer and I say I need to think about it, that sounds like I might have an answer in 5 minutes.
Right.
But if I say I need some time to ponder this, I'm signaling something different. I'm signaling, don't call me until tomorrow. This is a heavy decision.
Yes, it commands respect for the mental process. It signals that the answer won't be simple, so the thinking process can't be rushed. It says, this deserves my full, unhurried attention.
All right, let's shift gears. A big shift. We are leaving the quiet library of thought and we're entering the courtroom. This next cluster is power, law, and judgment. These words carry a lot of weight. If you misuse them, you might start a war, or at the very least, an HR investigation. The first one is a big one: condone.
This is perhaps the most dangerous word on our entire list if it's misunderstood. To condone means to accept or allow behavior that is considered morally wrong or offensive to continue. The key word there is continue.
I have to admit, I always used to conflate condone with forgive, but the research you sent suggests they're actually opposites, at least in terms of their timeline.
They are, and this is a critical distinction. Think about the timeline of a scandal. Forgiveness is always retrospective. It looks backward. You can only forgive what has already happened and, crucially, has stopped. You apologize, and I forgive you. It's a closed loop.
Okay, that makes sense.
Condoning, on the other hand, is strictly present tense and forward-looking. It's about what is happening now and what you're allowing to happen next.
So if I see a colleague cutting corners on safety regulations and I see it happening and I don't say anything.
You aren't forgiving them because they haven't stopped or apologized. You are condoning their behavior. You are essentially permitting that unsafe behavior to continue through your silence. In a legal or corporate setting, that silence can be interpreted as complicity.
That is genuinely terrifying. So condone basically means passive approval. Your inaction gives a green light.
Exactly. If a university dean knows about hazing rituals in a fraternity and does absolutely nothing, he is condoning the hazing. He isn't holding the paddle himself, but he is creating the space for it to happen year after year.
Which is why you always hear that specific phrase in press conferences.
We do not condone this behavior. They have to say that. They must put it on the record, because otherwise their silence could imply they own the behavior.
So silence isn't neutral. In this context, silence is condoning.
Got it. Now, what if you want to be the absolute opposite of silent? You want to stand on a rooftop and scream that something is wrong. You denounce it.
To denounce is to publicly declare something to be wrong or evil. And publicly is the most important part of that definition. You can't denounce someone in a whisper or a private email. It's a public act.
It feels very political, very formal. Like you don't denounce your friend for being 10 minutes late to dinner.
No, absolutely not. The scale is all wrong. You denounce a coup, you denounce a violation of human rights, you denounce corruption. It's a word of high drama and high moral standing. When you denounce something, you are explicitly separating your reputation from it. You are standing on a soapbox and saying, I am not part of this, and this is evil.
The notes also mention a darker side to this word, from history books. The informant angle. Yes, that's the other meaning. In authoritarian regimes, citizens were often encouraged to denounce their neighbors to the secret police for thought crimes or disloyalty. In that context, it means to accuse or inform against. But in modern business and media, it's mostly used as the ultimate form of public criticism.
It's definitely stronger than just criticize.
Oh, much stronger. It's at a different league. You criticize a business strategy you think is flawed. You denounce a business strategy that involves child labor. One is a disagreement on tactics. The other is a condemnation of morality.
Speaking of heavy consequences, terminate. That word just sounds cold.
It is a cold, hard, stainless steel word. To terminate is simply to bring something to an end.
But why do we use it in business? Why terminate an employee instead of the more common firing them or letting them go? What's the function of that word choice?
It's all about removing emotion and subjectivity. Fire is emotional, it's aggressive. Letting them go is a soft euphemism. Terminate is procedural, it's clinical. It implies the action is the inevitable result of a contract or a system, not a personal decision. It depersonalizes the event.
It sounds so final, like there's no arguing with it. The decision has been made by the system.
And that's precisely the point. The word stop suggests a pause. You can stop and then start again. Terminate suggests the death of the process. A train terminates at its final station. A lease agreement is terminated. It decisively cuts off the possibility of continuation.
It's the period at the end of the sentence, a full stop.
Yeah.
Now, here's a word that feels like it belongs in Game of Thrones or some fantasy novel. Banish.
It does feel medieval, doesn't it? The king pointing to the gate. But the distinction it offers is actually very useful today. To banish is to officially send someone away from a place as a punishment.
How is that different from, say, evict? If you get evicted, you're being sent away.
This is a great distinction to understand. Eviction is about property and a single location. You are removed from a specific building, usually because you violated a lease. Banishment is about community and territory. You are forbidden from entering an entire land, a group, or a society.
So eviction leaves you homeless. Banishment leaves you countryless or friendless. It's a social expulsion, not just a physical one.
In a sense, yes. And because of that social element, we can use it metaphorically in powerful ways. You can banish negative thoughts from your mind. You aren't just ignoring them, you are formally and forcefully expelling them for the territory of your consciousness.
Or a teacher banishing a disruptive student to the hallway. It's not just moving them. It frames the classroom as a privileged community, a kingdom that the student has lost the right to occupy.
Precisely. It turns the space into a community that you're no longer a part of. The punishment is the exclusion itself.
Okay, last one in this power cluster. Halt. I can't hear this word without thinking of an old movie. Halt. Who goes there?
It's very military, very official. To halt is to bring to an abrupt and often temporary stop.
Why not just say stop? What's the extra meaning we get from halt?
Stop is generic. It's neutral. A car stops at a stop sign. It's a planned event. Halt implies that there was forward momentum that has been forcefully arrested. It's an interruption, often by an external authority.
So if I say production stopped for the day, that sounds normal, like the shift just ended.
Exactly.
But if I say production was halted, that sounds like a machine exploded or a federal inspector showed up with a court order.
Or a strike happened, yes. The government called for a halt to the construction of the dam. It implies an external authority stepping in to freeze the action. It carries the weight of a command, not just a cessation.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Let's move to our third segment. This one is called Creation, Change, and Deceit. So we're talking about how things grow, how we fix them up, and how we fake them. Let's start with something organic and positive. Cultivate.
This is one of my favorite words because it so beautifully bridges the gap between, say, farming and psychology. Literally, it means to prepare and use land for crops. Figuratively, it means to try to acquire or develop a quality, a skill, or a relationship.
I feel like the key word in that definition is try. There's an effort implied.
Yes. The distinction from the word grow is all about effort and intent. Weeds grow. Children grow taller. Those things happen naturally, passively. But you must cultivate patience. You must cultivate a professional network. It doesn't just happen.
It implies that if you walk away and stop tending to it, the thing withers and dies.
Exactly. It requires constant attention, weeding, watering, pruning. If you say a CEO cultivated an image of approachability, you are implying it wasn't his natural state. He worked at it. He pruned his abrupt behaviors. He watered relationships with small talk. He manufactured that result.
Now, how does that compare to a similar word? Foster.
Foster is the gentle cousin of cultivate. It means to encourage or promote the development of something. But the central metaphor is more about parenting than it is about farming.
We talk about foster care, for example.
Right, and what does a good foster parent do? They provide a safe, nurturing, and supportive environment for a child to thrive on their own terms. Fostering is about creating the right conditions.
So if we bring that back to a business context.
You might cultivate a specific high-value client. That's you working on them directly, taking them to lunch, remembering their birthday. But a good leader fosters a culture of innovation in their office. You create psychological safety and provide the resources so the team itself can be innovative. You're not micromanaging their creativity.
Ah, I see. So cultivate is hands-on, direct effort. Foster is about setting up the environment and then stepping back. I like that. Now let's talk about fixing things up. Refurbish.
A word we see all the time on Amazon or eBay. Refurbished iPhone. It means to renovate or redecorate something to make it look fresh and new.
But isn't that just another word for repaired?
No, and the price tag usually tells you the difference. Repair is purely functional. The screen was cracked, we fixed the glass. The car didn't start, we replaced the alternator. Refurbish implies a restoration of aesthetics and user experience.
So it's about form, not just function.
Yes. For that iPhone, it means we didn't just fix the battery. We also polished the casing, wiped the memory clean, put a new protective film on the screen, and put it in a brand new box. We've made it feel new again.
So you repair a car engine, but you refurbish a vintage hotel lobby.
A perfect example. Refurbishing is about restoring the experience of newness to something that is old. It's a cosmetic and functional upgrade combined.
Now we have to turn to the dark side of creation. Fabricate.
This word has a fascinating split personality. If you are an engineer or manufacturer, fabrication is a noble profession. You fabricate steel beams. It means to construct or manufacture something, often on an industrial scale.
But if you are a lawyer or a journalist,
Then fabricate means to invent or concoct something, typically with deceitful intent. The witness fabricated his entire alibi. The reporter was fired for fabricating quotes.
I love the connection there, though. Even when it means to lie, it still leans on that original metaphor of construction. You are building the lie.
That is the deep insight. A simple lie can be a quick, impulsive statement. A fabrication is a project. It implies construction. You have to assemble the pieces, the fake receipts, the believable timestamps, the false witnesses. You are welding the deception together so that it holds up under pressure.
It makes it sound so much more calculated and deliberate. And if you do it well, you successfully deceive.
To deceive means to deliberately cause someone to believe something that is not true.
Now, how is that different from lying? They sound like the same thing.
There's a fundamental difference. Lying is the action. It's the words leaving your mouth or the email you're typing. Deception is the result in the other person's brain.
Oh, interesting. So I can lie to you, but if you don't believe a word I'm saying, I haven't actually deceived you?
Correct. You attempted to deceive, but you failed.
Mm-hmm.
Deception implies a successful transfer of a false reality from your mind to theirs. The trick worked.
The notes also mention that appearances can deceive, which means it's not always about words.
Exactly. Nature deceives all the time. A harmless butterfly that has evolved to look like a poisonous leaf is deceiving a predator. It isn't speaking. It is just projecting a false reality. A scam artist deceives you not just with words, but with an expensive suit, a confident handshake, and a professional-looking website.
It's the whole package, the entire constructed reality. Okay, segment 4, impact and obstacles. This is about physics, logistics, and how things get in each other's way. We're starting with a word that sounds exactly like what it is. Walking through knee-deep mud. Impede.
That is the perfect mental image for it. To impede is to delay or prevent someone or something by obstructing them. The Latin root actually refers to shackling the feet, which is a very powerful image.
So how is it different from a simple word like stop?
Stop is binary. It's an off switch. You are moving, then you are not. Impede is more like a drag coefficient. It's friction. The rescue vehicles were impeded by the deep mud. They are still moving, but every inch forward is a struggle.
Or in an office setting, bureaucracy. These new reporting regulations will impede our team's progress.
It implies friction. Exactly. It doesn't kill the project outright, but it makes every single step heavier and slower than it needs to be.
Now, a word that sounds legal and official. Infringe. This sounds like something I get yelled at for on YouTube. Copyright infringement.
To infringe is to actively break the terms of a law, agreement, or right. But, and here's the critical distinction, it is almost always used for abstract boundaries. Things you can't see.
So you don't infringe a car window, you break it. It's a physical object.
Correct. You infringe on someone's privacy. You infringe on a patent. You infringe on someone's personal space by standing too close.
It's a violation of a line you can't physically see.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's an encroachment on an intangible territory. The security camera in the office break room isn't touching you, but it is infringing on your reasonable expectation of privacy.
Okay. Now for a word that's perfect for the sneaky saboteur. Undermine.
This is one of the most vivid and useful metaphors in the English language. It comes from medieval siege warfare. Attackers, or sappers, would dig tunnels under the castle walls. They would literally mine under them and then collapse the tunnels so the walls would crumble from their own weight.
I had no idea that was the origin. That's fantastic.
So when you say, my boss is undermining me, you are using that exact metaphor. You're saying he is digging a secret tunnel under your professional reputation.
That is so much more specific and powerful than just saying, he's being mean or he's attacking me.
It is, because it implies a structural indirect attack. He isn't firing you. That would be terminating. He isn't shouting at you. That might be denouncing. He is quietly removing the dirt beneath your feet.
By doing what? Like questioning your data in public meetings?
Yes, or forgetting to copy you on important emails, or giving you praise in private but faint criticism in front of others. It's all designed so that eventually your authority just collapses.
It's insidious. It's a slow motion destruction, not a direct assault.
Exactly. It's rarely a single blow. It's a process of erosion.
Now, when things get risky, we say they are in jeopardy. So the verb form is jeopardize.
To jeopardize is to put something into a situation in which there is a danger of loss, harm, or failure.
So why not just say risk? I don't want to risk the whole deal. That sounds fine.
You can, but risk is more of a gambler's word. It's neutral. You risk $1 to win 5. Jeopardize is more a protector's word. It implies that the thing at stake is currently safe and valuable, and your actions are threatening that pre-existing safety.
He would never do anything to jeopardize his family's security.
Right. The security is the valuable thing you're trying to protect. The action threatens to burn it all down.
Yeah.
You rarely jeopardize something small. You jeopardize national security. You don't really jeopardize your lunch order.
Okay, so let's say we've made a mistake. We've jeopardized the project. There's a crisis. We need to mitigate the damage.
If you work in any corporate or government environment, this word is your absolute best friend. To mitigate means to make something bad, like a problem or a painful feeling, less severe, less serious, or less painful.
But not fix it, not solve it.
That is the crucial trap. Mitigate does not mean fix. It does not mean cure. It means to cushion the blow, to reduce the severity.
So if I get into a car crash, the airbag mitigates the injury to my head.
That is the perfect example. The crash still happened. Your car is still totaled. You're still getting the bill. But the airbag mitigated the physical impact on your face.
And in business, we talk about risk mitigation strategies.
Which is an open admission that you can't stop the risk from happening entirely. A hurricane is going to hit. You can't stop it. But you can mitigate the damage by boarding up windows and building a seawall. You are lessening the consequences.
Okay. Now, if you want to go in the complete opposite direction, total destruction, no mercy, you eradicate.
The nuclear option of words. To eradicate means to destroy completely, to put an end to something. The etymology is wonderful. It's from Latin, ex radix, which means to pull out by the roots.
So if I'm gardening and I pull a weed, I'm eradicating it.
Only if you get the entire root system. If you just chop the top off with a lawnmower, you are merely impeding its growth for a week. To eradicate is to ensure it can never, ever return.
We use this most often with diseases.
Yes. The World Health Organization wants to eradicate polio. Not treat it, not manage it, not mitigate it. They want to wipe it from the biological record of the planet so it's gone forever. It is a word of total and final victory.
2 more in this physics and impact section. Emit.
To produce and discharge something, which is usually a gas, radiation, light, or a sound.
The common word here would be release, I think.
It's similar, but release can be passive. You open a cage and the bird is released. The cage didn't create the bird. Emit, on the other hand, implies generation and radiation from a source. The sun emits light and heat. It is creating it and actively pushing it out. An old car emits exhaust fumes. A skunk emits a smell.
So it feels like it radiates out from the center. It's an active process.
It is. It's an outward projection from a source.
And finally in this group,
fluctuate.
To rise and fall irregularly in number or amount.
The key word there is irregularity. It's not just change.
Correct. Change can be a permanent one-way street. My opinion of him changed after I learned the truth. That's a permanent shift. Fluctuate implies a wave pattern, a back and forth motion, up and down, up and down.
Market prices fluctuate daily. My mood fluctuates depending on the weather. It suggests a degree of instability and unpredictability. If you say a key employee's performance is fluctuating, that's a polite way of saying they are inconsistent. Sometimes they're brilliant, sometimes they're terrible, and you never know which one you're going to get. It's that unpredictability that really defines the word.
We have arrived. The final cluster. And this is where it gets personal. Human interaction and social nuance. These are the words that describe how we relate to each other, or fail to. And we start with what seems like the bare minimum. Acknowledge.
It sounds so simple, doesn't it? To acknowledge is to accept or admit the existence or truth of something, or to show that you have noticed someone.
But there's a real sting to this word if it's missing, if it's absent.
A huge one. Think about walking down an office hallway. You pass a coworker you see every day. If they say hello, that's a greeting. If they just give you a slight nod of the head, that's an acknowledgement. They've registered your presence.
And if they look straight through you like you're not even there.
They have failed to acknowledge your existence. And that feels worse than a direct insult, doesn't it? It's dehumanizing. In a debate, if you say, I acknowledge your point, you aren't agreeing with it. You are simply admitting that it's a valid entry in the discussion. You see it and recognize it.
It's the absolute baseline of validation, like an automated email that says, receipt acknowledged. I haven't read your email yet, but I admit that it exists in my inbox.
That's it exactly. It's the first step.
Now, if you want to do more than just nod at a cause, if you want to actually fight for it, you advocate.
To advocate is to publicly recommend or support a particular cause or policy. The Latin root here is vocus, the same root as in vocal or voice. To advocate is to add your voice to a cause.
So how is it different from just supporting a cause?
Support can be silent and passive. You can support a local charity by sending them a check anonymously. No one ever knows. But to advocate is to stand up and speak. It is active, public, and vocal. Doctors advocate for their patients' needs with insurance companies. You advocate for a promotion for a deserving colleague. You are making a case out loud.
Okay, now let's talk about the word that triggers a bit of PTSD in anyone who has ever had to do a group project in school. Collaborate.
Ah, yes, the great corporate buzzword of the last 2 decades. To collaborate means to work jointly on an activity, especially to produce or create something.
But people use it interchangeably with cooperate. A sign at the airport says, please cooperate with the security guards.
And that is the fundamental mistake. Cooperate means to operate alongside one another, or more simply, to follow the rules so things run smoothly. If I cooperate with the police during a traffic stop, I am doing what I'm told. We are both staying in our own lanes so we don't crash.
But collaboration is different.
Collaboration is messy. It's interactive. It implies shared creation. If we are collaborating on a project, I am tearing up some of your ideas, and you are rebuilding mine. We are supposed to merge our skills to make something new that neither one of us could have made alone.
So two musicians collaborate on a new album.
Yes, but thousands of drivers on a highway cooperate to get home safely. If all those drivers on the highway suddenly started collaborating, well, you'd have a massive pileup.
That is a brilliant distinction. So cooperation is about avoiding friction, but collaboration is about using friction to build something new. Next up, disseminate.
A very formal technical word. It means to spread something, especially information widely.
It's almost always information, right?
Almost exclusively. You spread butter on toast. You might spread a rumor to a few friends, but you disseminate research findings or propaganda or public health guidelines. The Latin root is semen, which means seed. You are sowing information like a farmer sows a field, hoping it takes root everywhere.
So you could say the goal of this deep dive is to disseminate these ideas to a wider audience.
That would be a perfect use. It implies a broad, purposeful, and systematic scattering. You aren't just telling a friend, you are broadcasting to the world.
Gather. This seems like a simple word, but the notes you sent point out a specific usage related to inference.
Yes, we use it all the time. From what I can gather, he seems unhappy with the decision.
Right. In that sentence, you are acting like a detective. You're not being told directly.
Exactly. You are picking up small, scattered clues, a frown here, a short temper there, an unenthusiastic email, and you are putting them together in your mind to form a coherent picture. You are gathering the disparate data points to create an understanding.
And strictly speaking, on a more literal level, you gather people, you don't collect them.
Please, yes, do not collect people. You collect static, inanimate objects like stamps or coins. You gather living, dynamic things. Storm clouds gather. A crowd gathers in the square. It implies a coming together of energy and potential.
Obtain. Okay, we are getting bureaucratic again. This feels like a word from a government form.
To obtain is to get, acquire, or secure something. But it strongly implies that effort and a formal process were involved.
You get a coffee from the cafe.
But you obtain a building permit from the city, you obtain a visa from an embassy, you obtain a confession from a suspect after a long interrogation.
It suggests there was a gatekeeper or a barrier to entry.
Yes, you had to fill out a form, pay a fee, pass a test, or apply pressure. Obtain confers a sense of legitimacy and effort on the possession. You earned it, in a way.
Now, what happens if you stop caring? If you fail in your duty, neglect?
To fail to care for properly.
Is this just a synonym for ignoring?
No, and this is a really important distinction for anyone in a relationship or a position of responsibility. Ignore can be an active choice. I can choose to ignore a rude comment online. That is a valid, often healthy strategy. Neglect implies a failure of a duty you're supposed to be performing.
So if I don't water my plants and they die,
You are neglecting them. You have a duty of care to keep them alive, and you are failing in that duty. If a manager neglects his team, he isn't just ignoring them, he is violating the core responsibilities of his job description.
Neglect carries guilt and responsibility with it. Ignore is more neutral.
Precisely. Neglect is often actionable. You can be sued for professional negligence. You can't usually be sued for ignoring someone.
And finally, our 31st word, a word of deep and profound emotion to end on. Lament.
A beautiful, heavy, and powerful word. To lament is to express passionate grief or sorrow about something.
So it's not just being sad, it's more than that.
Much more. Sadness is an internal feeling. Lamentation is an external action. It is a vocal, often artistic expression of that sadness. You write a poem to lament a lost love. A citizen gives a speech to lament the moral decline of their city.
It feels biblical, or, literary from an epic poem.
It does, because it dignifies the grief. It elevates it. If you say, he is moaning and groaning about his job, that sounds dismissive and annoying. But if you say, he is lamenting the loss of his career's purpose, that sounds tragic and profound. It elevates the complaint to something worthy of art and respect.
Wow. We have gone from deciphering a doctor's messy notes all the way to lamenting the human condition. That is quite a journey through 31 words.
It is, but I hope you and everyone listening can see the common thread that runs through all of them.
It's about intentionality, right? It's about making a choice.
It is entirely about intentionality. When you stop using default blurry words and start using these specific high-resolution distinctions, you stop sleepwalking through your conversations. You start saying exactly what you mean.
It's more than just sounding smart, too. It changes how you think. If I force myself to swap think for ponder, I actually give myself mental permission to slow down. If I swap cooperate for collaborate before a meeting, I change the entire expectation of what that meeting is for.
The language you use shapes the reality you experience. If you know the critical difference between condoning an action and forgiving it, you navigate the moral landscape with a compass, instead of just wandering around and hoping for the best.
So here is our final thought, our challenge to you. Pick one word from this list, just one. Maybe it's scrutinize, maybe it's mitigate, maybe it's foster. Try to use it this week, but use it correctly in the right context, and just see if it changes how people react to you.
And more importantly, see if it changes how you think.
Thanks for diving deep with us. We'll see you next time.